Scott, you are one of the younger guys here in terms of DC-3 circles. What is your connection to the DC-3 emotionally? What made you go to all the effort and expense to restore the plane behind us?
Well, I'm one of the guys that just love to fly. You know, started flying when I was 14 in gliders and soloed on my 16th birthday, licensed on my 17th, so forth and so on. Never had a desire to fly for a living. But my dad and I flew to Oshkosh for the first time when I was 15 in a Baking Deuce. We landed, and that was my first experience at Oshkosh. I was 15, and all the DC-3s were lined up. You know, they had the B-25s, B-24s, all the other airplanes. And for whatever reason, why does one airplane fascinate a kid? I don't know. I can't explain that. I made a D in psychology, so I don't understand it. But all the DC-3s with everybody camping under the wing, it just mesmerized me. And I told my dad at 15 years old, I said, someday we're going to come back in a DC-3. And I'm 44 now, so it took a while. But I was just really fascinated with the airplane, and then continued to fly and went to school. And then when I got out of school, I took a week's vacation and went down to South Texas and got my DC-3 type rating. And that was just one of the funnest weeks I've ever had in my life. And again, never flew a DC-3 again until I was in my early 30s and was out working and earning money and ended up buying this airplane. I bought it in 2000. It had a blown left engine. There's a difference between being able to buy something and being able to afford it. I could buy it, but I really couldn't afford it at the time. And that's why it's taken me so long to get it restored.
Well, now, the last time has provided a gathering for a lot of people who I see bumping into each other for the first time, who have connections they didn't know about. One of them is, we just heard that there's a guy standing over by your airplane who did the original inspection on it.
I can't wait to get over there and visit with him, and that's what has happened on this airplane, just one event after the other. I've got a diary started, and I just keep plugging information in the right time spots as we find it. So we're really blessed to be able to put together a picture. I have Don King's original logbook number 1 and logbook number 2, that absolutely details every single takeoff and landing this plane made from Miami all the way through every supply mission through the end of, he left at the end of Market Garden. And so I don't have the details for Varsity. We know it flew Varsity, but I don't have the details, and I want those details. I don't know if I'll ever get them or not, but that's the neat thing about it. I don't know another airplane out here, and I know quite a few of them, that have the detail of the information, every takeoff, every landing. Some of them know they flew D-Day, but they don't know who the pilot was, they don't know who they dropped. We've got every paratrooper that dropped. We know his name, rank, serial number, whether they made it or didn't. And we know what happened to them after the war. We have that information. And now then, I'm looking into those families and trying to connect those families back to the airplane, because we're third generation now. And everybody's just really excited. And of course, they've got pictures of their dad or granddad, and they're supplying me that information. So I think this is going to be a never-ending project of compiling history on this airplane.
Now, another moment of freedom from Cirrus Aircraft. Freedom through safety. Perhaps the ultimate freedom is confidence, assurance, and peace of mind. We design it into every personal aircraft we build. It's the security that comes with knowing you're flying the plane with a parachute. The breakthrough concept that launched the Cirrus phenomenon.
I knew nothing of the history of the airplane, so I bought the airplane not knowing anything, and we hung a new engine on it and put a new elevator on it, and we flew it home, having problems with the right engine, just couldn't quite get it right. And sure enough, about 14 hours later, we shucked the right engine. We seized a main bearing in it. I just spent about 75 grand on the left engine back in the day, and I was looking forward to another one. I said, you know what, a corporate pilot can't afford this, so I parked it in a hangar that I had built for it. And I continued to work on it, you know, every night, just go out and clean something and restore it, but really couldn't afford that other engine, and so there it sat. And it's just amazing that I look back and I'm so thankful I couldn't afford it at the time. It was really a blessing. I mean, things happen for a reason, I believe that, because now that I could afford it, about 2 years ago, a man out of the blue, David Elliott, called me on the phone, introduced himself, and asked me, he said, can you tell me what the military serial number is in your airplane? I said, well, my serial number is 9058. He said, no, that's FAA stuff. I need the military data plate. Is it in your airplane? I said, I don't know. I had him on my cell phone. I went in the cockpit and looked behind the co-pilot seat. Never looked for that before. I knew where the data plate was, but I looked up there, and sure enough, in Santa Monica, California, there was the data plate, 4232832. He said, oh, you're going to like this. He said, your airplane flew and dropped troops on D-Day. I said, wow, I didn't even know it left the States. I already got cold chills again. I don't know if you can get those. I mean, it just got real emotional. And so that's sparked a friendship between David, Elliott, and myself. And then we started doing more and more and more research. And then he ended up finding the pilot that flew it was Don King. And he found his wife. And this was months. I mean, it didn't happen in weeks. It happened in months. And then as of January this year, I went out to Arizona and I met Shirley King and her family, and I met Gerald Parker, who was their best friend, and Gerald flew missions in this airplane, this very airplane. And so all this history just kind of fell into place. And the last time came around, this event was being looked at. I said, you know, this is the year. I said, we need to make the commitment. I had a new business running, and I said, you know, this is the year we can do it. And so we just put forth the effort to put the other engine on, and we decided to go back with a military-themed restoration. It's not a perfect representation of the way it was, because the way it was didn't look very good. So it's a show plane representation of what it did through the war.
If you own a Cirrus today, or if you are considering the purchase of a new or used aircraft, consider this. Avidyne, in conjunction with the country's leading Cirrus sales and maintenance facilities, has launched the G3R9 program that combines the purchase of a late-model, low-time Cirrus aircraft and the addition of the Avidyne Integra Release 9 avionics suite for much less than you may have thought, and certainly much less than purchasing a brand new aircraft. G3R9, combining the best airframe, best engine, and best avionics for the best value.
The restoration of the airplane is almost a sidebar to the restoration of the history of the airplane.
Yeah, the airplane is truly a piece of aluminum with engines, and you can take the oldest, ugliest DC-3 out here and you can make it look like this with a little bit of time and money. But truly, what's so special about this one is the history, the fact that I've got Shirley King here with me today, the fact that I've got Gerald Parker with me here today that flew these airplanes, and you know, that's priceless. Money can't buy that. And we just look forward to sharing back and forth for as many years as we got, you know.
Now you did some formation flying on Sunday, a little bit, small formation, and you described that as a lot of fun. Tell us about that and what it's like to look forward to the big one on Monday.
Well, that was kind of a spontaneous thing. I got a call actually this morning at 6 from Dan Grider, and he said, "Hey, we're going to put a 3-ship up. You want to go?" I said, who's number 2 or number 3? He said, it's you. I said, okay. So I said, sure. I'm not much of a hangar flyer. In fact, that's why I'm parked away from everybody else, so I can get out and get to the runway. Everybody else is kind of stacked in there. So Dan knows I like to fly. So I said, sure. So we got out here and we flew. And to be honest with you, I'd never flown formation in a DC-3. It was my first time. But it's just like any other airplane. There's pitch and throttles, and you know, you just do it. The other pilot who's flying co-pilot with me actually has a lot more experience than I do. He's a great guy. Got a good team. But it was just so exhilarating to be tucked in beside another airplane, and it's challenging. You know, the throttle movements, you're always jockeying just a little bit to hold that formation. And then I had dinner with Gerald Parker last night. I said, how close did you guys fly? He said, you know, we flew at night, 100 feet, typically 10, 20 foot wingtip, in a formation, a group of 14 or so airplanes. And I'm sitting here jocking these throttles, and I talked to Tommy, my co-pilot. I said, you know, how do they do it? How do they do it? I've been flying all my life. Got a whole lot more time than any of those guys ever had. And it's such a challenge. And you're tired, you know, at the end of just an hour. I mean, just physically tired. And it just gives you such an appreciation for what they did. And they didn't do that for fun. We're out here having fun. We're not getting shot at. And it just gives you such an appreciation for what they went through.